Sergeant and Mr. Smith, you're gonna love this house.
Bunk beds in a closet?
There's no field manual for finding the right home. But when you do, USAA Homeowners Insurance can help protect it the right way. Restrictions apply.
Strength. Power. Milk. Strength. Power. Milk. Strength. Power. Milk.
You can do a lot just by sitting down. You can take a break, or a nap, or crack open a novel. That then becomes a nap. You can enjoy a park bench, or really not enjoy a park bench. Is that gum? You can do a lot of things by sitting down. Like start your next journey.
The all-electric Volkswagen ID4 with intuitive sit to start. It's the little things. It's a VW.
There is something that's being sucked out of it in world politics. And unfortunately, this is the way of the world now. It's just maybe not as happy as it used to be.
It's really hard, isn't it? Because when we talk about these things, we all have two things going on, one of which is genuine changes in the world, which there have been genuine changes in the world and things are happening. And it does feel like in global politics right now, everything is awful and everyone is there's literally a war in Europe, which was not a thing that when I was growing up seemed very plausible to happen in our lifetime. And it's happening right now. Well, that's not true. War in Europe happened, but I suppose a war involving a nation as big as Russia invading another nation. Yeah, there has been lots of war in Europe in my lifetime, but I suppose this one feels different. A war with a nuclear power.
Because you felt we moved on from these things. You felt that we had, I don't know, started to choose perhaps peace. There are some massive improvements, obviously, as time has gone on, more peace, more. But then when things do remind you, you think, what's going on? Why do we have a war? I get that.
But then there's the other part of it, which is just our personal nostalgia as well. Because I was thinking about my first memory of football is the 1990 World Cup, very first memory. And really the only memory that I hold on to now is the third and fourth game between Italy and England. That's just because it was Italy and England. It was in my house. I had an Italian dad and English mum. And so it was a thing. And that was when I got asked, who are you going to support? And I said Italy. My brother said England. And I was right. But it's funny because that memory is I almost remember, the sort of the setting. I remember our living room. I remember talking about who you're going to support. That's what I remember. Whereas the 1994 World Cup, I remember more of the football. The sort of strongest memory for me of that is the final.
Yeah.
Because we were in my dad's village in Italy, which is a really small village he's from originally in Emilia-Romagna up in the hills. And basically someone had got a big screen in the courtyard of someone, I guess, old-fashioned landed gentry in the area had got opened their courtyard up, put a big screen in the middle of it. And watching the final there, and there was a band who'd been playing before the game. And then when the penalties were happening, the drummer was doing a drum roll before each penalty. And I wanted to kill him because I was I do not need this drum roll. This drum roll is making things worse. and then Italy lost and I cried. It was the first time I cried about football for sure. Sure, the first time I cried about football was Italy losing that shootout. And I know with hindsight, it's really funny because I've seen all these sorts of serious journalistic accounts of, first of all, the 1990 World Cup and then the 1994 final. And the consensus in writing seems to be that the 1990 World Cup was terrible, the football was terrible, and the 1994 final was terrible. And I'm not going to go back and watch the 1994 final. I know it was low on chances, but I don't remember it for the football. I remember it for the experience. I remember the feeling of being in that courtyard and how intense everything felt and how powerful those emotions were. And I do remember Massaro missing one through on goal. And I remember, of course, Baggio missing his penalty. And we were in Italy. And the next day it was all about him getting excommunicated from the Catholic Church because he said he was a Buddhist. It was ridiculous. It's so strange because I was heartbroken at the time. I was a kid and you can't deal with the complicated emotions of it. And yet now, half a lifetime onwards, when I look back at that, what I think of is that moment with my family. You know, my dad's not with us anymore, hasn't been since I was a teenager. So like that was one of the sort of, I suppose, last big things we got to do with him as a family. And that moment feels like a beautiful one, even though it was a sad one.
Yeah.
And so all these things, like our own personal nostalgia, like colours how we think about all sorts of things. But I think for me, football is very wrapped up. World Cups are very wrapped up in those sort of moments of where I was with my family. Because then again, like if I jump to 2006 World Cup final, which of course a happy memory Italy win, I could tell you what happens in the game much more vividly because of course I was older, like I remember it better. But what I hold on to from that game isn't specific moments of the game. It's the moment when the last penalty goes in, and I was watching it in London with my brother actually. I would have loved to be in Italy, but I was doing my journalism course at the time. I was training to become a professional journalist. I just started taking day shifts at The Guardian, but I was doing some qualifications at the same time. So I was in London. I watched it in a pub with my brother, and we were in Soho, which has got quite a good Italian community anyway. And when the last penalty went in, like, I just remember us both like running towards the door. And then we're out in the street and we're hugging, and there's like cars going by and there's flags, and there were all these Italians just appeared out of nowhere. And that's what I remember. Like, I can talk to you about the game, but what I remember is that feeling and how brilliant it was. And like, really, it's sharing it with my brother. Like, so for me, the World Cup is like really tied together with feelings of family, I think, actually, when I think about it.
Become a member at patreon.com/Serie Chronicles for regular bonus episodes and content.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.